Do you ever just look at videos about the Academy Awards and think to yourself, geez, where's the positive? Well, that's what I'm here to do, to give you my personal take on the Academy Awards and why I think they're getting better. Unbelievable to think so, right? These ceremonies are supposed to be boring, cringe wastes of time, with baffling wins and unfunny jokes. The 2022 Oscar ceremony in particular was especially bad for a multitude of reasons. To say the Academy barely lives up to what it's intended to be would be an understatement. Or it would have had these last 3 years not cooked, man. These last 3 Oscar ceremonies we've gotten have seemingly been doing their best to make up for the abysmal failure that was the 2022 ceremony. 3 big bangers, all of which I really enjoyed and got a ton out of. So let's waste no more time and crank that positivity knob up and talk about what these 3 ceremonies have had to offer. Coming right off the 94th Academy Awards ceremony in 2022, any shred of respect I and a lot of other people had on the Academy seemed gone for good. What with the many baffling wins, cut categories, horrible speeches, and the infamous Will Smith slap. And then you get to this ceremony and it's like, dude, what happened? Why was the ceremony actually good? How do these people actually know what they were doing in terms of which movies and celebrities won, for the most part? What a glow up. Am I dead? But seriously, I really like this ceremony. It isn't perfect, obviously, but considering all the crap we've had to sludge through for the past few years or so, I feel like this was their way of telling audiences, we hear you, and we do care. This became apparent by the first award, Best Animated Feature, where The Rock delivered a pretty respectful speech about the medium of animation. This is the same guy who called animation a genre 9 years before this ceremony, so it's nice to see him have a little redemption arc. And it didn't stop there. It really did feel like the Academy actually respected the effort and craft that goes into creating movies in their respective categories. And this was evident when they showcased all the costumes for Best Costume Design, showing the old and new ways of editing for Best Editing, playing clips from other different movies that fit each category the best. They really put in the best effort they could into respecting and honoring each category. And not just saying how good these aspects of filmmaking are in a harmless but pretty meh opening monologue. All of this was such a sharp contrast to all the stuff that held the past ceremonies back from being good, where the hosts perform unfunny skits just to eat up time. And not to mention the voters clearly don't watch all the movies that get nominated and only give wins to the ones that were the most campaigned. But here, there was none of that. They really cared. Everything was very well paced without any unnecessary cuts or distractions. The wins just kept coming. In terms of the wins themselves, aside from Jamie Lee Curtis winning for Best Supporting Actress, a discussion I'm sure you've already heard numerous times, as well as some odd wins to All Quiet on the Western Front, which wasn't bad, but I wasn't completely hooked into it as I was expecting. But aside from those, everything else was pretty good. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won for Best Animated Feature, Ke Huy Quan won for Best Supporting Actor, and his speech was very heartwarming. I like that Top Gun 2 won for Best Sound, as well as Black Panther 2 for winning Best Costume Design. RRR went home with Best Original Song for Naatu Naatu, and the song performance itself was gold. And of course, every win that Everything Everywhere All at Once sweep was absolutely deserved. Editing, direction, acting, Best Picture, it was easily the biggest film of the night. Overall, this was a really good show. Everything came together pretty nicely. The wins, the speeches, the performances, even some of the jokes weren't bad. Aside from when Jimmy Kimmel made like 5 Will Smith jokes, which got old. And there are some wins I either rolled my eyes at or scratched my head over. But in general, I really enjoyed the ceremony, and I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I can't wait to see how the ceremony plays out next year. Oh ho ho ho, here we go, baby. The amazing experience that was the 96th Academy Awards. This is easily my favorite Oscar ceremony of the bunch. No joke, this legit stands toe-to-toe with the Parasite year in terms of being the best, most exciting, most uplifting ceremony yet. No duds, no bullcrap, no unnecessary distractions. Literally every movie that was nominated this year were all bangers, and were absolutely deserving of getting nominated. Except Dial of Destiny. That movie freaking sucked. It did not deserve to be nominated for original score. Oh yeah, also Maestro. The movie wasn't awful, but it was easily the lamest of the 10 Best Picture nominees. But yeah, other than those, Oppenheimer, Barbie, Poor Things, Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Boy and the Heron, Across the Spider-Verse, Godzilla Minus One. I can go on. All of these were fantastic. Granted, not every single one of them won something, but what the majority got was very well deserved. Boy and the Heron won Best Animated Feature, the first award to go to Studio Ghibli since Spirited Away 21 years ago. Godzilla Minus One won for visual effects, which was absolutely deserving considering how much of a thrill ride that movie was. Poor Things got a couple wins for acting, hairstyling, costume, and production design. Divine Joy Randolph and Paul Giamatti won for the acting noms for The Holdovers. Anatomy of a Fall won Best Original Screenplay. The Zone of Interest, while not my favorites of 2023, was still well deserving of International Feature. Henry Sugar won Best Short, which is great considering this is Wes Anderson's first win at the ceremony. Every nomination and win that Oppenheimer got was very well deserved too. Getting Best Picture, Directing, Acting, Original Score, Cinematography, Editing. Geez, it won everything. What Was I Made For got Best Original Song, which got my sister especially hyped. Like, seriously, she is the #1 Billie Eilish fan in our family. I remember her screaming, "Slay girl!" when she won. On top of all the wins, everything else in between was also enjoyable. There were a lot of great gags and so many actually good comedic bits from all the presenters. My favorite, of course, being Naked John Cena. I like how it tied into previous Oscar history, and it was a good choice that fit the costume design presentation. The song performances were also super good, with my favorite, of course, being I'm Just Ken. This was single-handedly my favorite moment of the entire show. Maybe my favorite Oscars moment ever. The choreography, Ryan Gosling's vocals, the cute callback to La La Land. God, it was so good. Overall, I had a blast with this ceremony. There were too many all-timer moments to count, and pretty much every win I was like, yeah, it very much deserved it. This was simply peak. Easily my favorite Oscar ceremony, at least of the ones I've seen. 9 out of 10. And now we come to the most recent Oscar ceremony, the 97th. Okay, so the ceremony was really good once again, but one of my biggest issues with it was that it was a little too long. I didn't see this as an issue with the previous ceremony since everything in those was paced pretty well. And this one is a little bit longer while also being a little too overstuffed with flair. If I had to choose what to cut out, it would definitely be the James Bond celebration. I mean, I liked it, but like, why is it here? It just kinda interrupts the ceremony. And as per every Oscar show, there are a few undeserved wins, especially when it comes to Emilia Perez. Yeah, chances are you saw this coming. So, people don't like this movie for a multitude of reasons. A lack of Mexican and trans representation, sucky musical numbers, Carlos Sofia Gascon being a racist bigot, and most of all, the fact that it was setting itself up as one of the most prestigious films nomination-wise, at 13. I have absolutely no idea how such a crappy movie can receive that many nominations. It's boring, predictable, straight up offensive,
horrible, putrid, poorly prepared, vile, unappetizing,
and just overall miserable. But with that said, it only got 2 wins for Best Song and Supporting Actress. I don't hate the fact that it won in these categories, but it could have been beaten out by literally anything else. But yeah, other than that, pretty great show. They got Conan O'Brien to host the show, and I gotta say, he was really good here. I think some of Conan's jokes were a little overstayed, but the ones that landed. The Carlos Sofia Gascon jab, the Adam Sandler bit where he didn't dress formally for the show, the Drake diss, the musical number about not wasting time, it really helped contribute to this being an enjoyable show. As for the wins themselves, they were fairly predictable, but still pretty good. Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor for A Real Pain. The Substance won for makeup and hairstyling. Wicked won a few awards for costume and production design. Dune received some wins for sound and VFX, which is cool, even though it really feels like it was snubbed this year. Like, damn, I didn't see it in any other prestigious categories. Brutalist got wins for cinematography and original score. As for Best Actor, going to Adrian Brody in that movie, fine, but Coleman Domingo was better. Anora was easily the biggest film of the night, winning Best Picture, Original Screenplay, Editing, Director, and Best Actress. And you know what? Good for it. It's a good movie about how a few acts of kindness and goodwill aren't able to erase the mental scars you might feel deep down inside. And easily the biggest surprise of the ceremony was Flow winning Best Animated Feature, the first ever independent animated film to win this award. That's insane. It's pretty unlikely to believe at first glance that a simple movie about a cat with no dialogue, animated entirely in Blender, would beat multi-million studios like Disney and DreamWorks, and yet it did. Don't get me wrong, I am a little disappointed that The Wild Robot didn't win, which was my favorite movie of the year, by the way, but still, this was a huge W for animation, especially indie animation. So you know what, I'll let this slide. Overall, I was really impressed with the ceremony. Maybe a little too long, maybe a little too overstuffed, some movies should have been nominated more, Emilia Perez shouldn't have been nominated at all, but there were still tons of massive W's. Not as good as last year's ceremony, but still really good. 8 out of 10. So yeah, I think the Academy Awards are getting better. 3 great ceremonies in a row, that's insane. After so many years of assuming the Academy's respect for film was just non-existent, in comes 3 ceremonies in a row that go smoothly, with a ton of all-timer moments and well-deserved incredible wins. These last 3 years are finally making me believe in the Academy, and that they do respect the medium of film. I don't want to jinx it if they have another fumble on the same level as the 2022 show, but hey, if next year's ceremony runs just as smoothly, then maybe that'll be official. We'll see. And yeah, with all that said, I honestly cannot wait for next year's ceremony. See y'all when that happens.